This is the Ulanzi R70 RGB LED light, which I've been using for a few months now, and I've finally gotten around to reviewing it. Now, Ulanzi did send this to me for free, but they do not have any influence or input into the making of this video. So with that out of the way, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, definitely hit the subscribe button for more content just like this. Let's start with what's in the box. We have the light, we have a USB to Type-C cable for charging, and it also comes with a cold shoe mount thingy. First up is build quality. So the outer shell of the light is constructed from aluminum with a plastic frosted cover at the front to protect the LED chips, as well as to add a bit of diffusion to the light as well. The front cover does not detach and it is flush within the aluminum frame. This really has a nice finish to it and comes in a nice cool space gray color. Next up is practicality. Now this is about the size of my smartphone. If I put both of these side by side, they're about the same size. Now this light just measures 7 centimeters by 14 centimeters on the long side, and because this is so small, you can probably conceal this in most places, so it's directly out of your shot. Now in terms of mounting options, this has one of the most versatile built-in mounts I've seen in a light of this form factor. On most lights, you would only have this 1/4 20 mounting point, and if you're lucky, you might find a ball head mount in the box that it came with. But on this one, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 1/4 20 holes. You have a cold shoe mount, plus you have this articulating arm, which affords you a plethora of mounting positions. You know, you can really adjust this to put it exactly where you want this to be. And on top of all of that, the back is magnetic, which means you can just stick this to any metallic surface and you're good to go. Now the lighting options you can expect from this light can be classified into 4 main categories. And now across all of these categories or settings, one thing that would remain constant is the brightness control. So you would always have control over the brightness or the intensity of this light. And I suppose that is why there is a dedicated dimmer thumb wheel on the control panel. You can also monitor the value of your settings on the LCD panel at the back of the light. Now let's talk about those lighting categories. The first of those categories is single color, and that's in the CCT settings. Now CCT being correlated color temperature. Now you can set this to 2700 Kelvin for that warm tungsten look, or you can turn this all the way up to 8500 Kelvin for the cool daylight look. Secondly, there's the bicolor setting, where you can set the color temperature to any value in that range between 2700 Kelvin to 8500 Kelvin using the function wheel. So adjusting this function wheel would actually adjust and mix the intensity of the 2 banks of single color LEDs to your desired output, right? So it would start mixing. If you were to change this, you would see this start mixing in the blue LEDs and the yellow LEDs, and at different intensities would actually give you a different temperature output. And you can also, in this setting as well, the CCT setting, if you change the function, you can adjust the green magenta shift. What this would do is add red or green from the RGB LED bank, but I would probably leave this at the default 0, to be honest with you. Now the third category is where the fun begins. So switch the mode to HSI and you can adjust the color hue from 0 through 360 degrees, which essentially would cycle through the RGB spectrum. And you can also adjust the saturation of each of these colors between 0 and 100%. So this is just me cycling through the colors between 0 and 360 degrees, and it just changes the colors as it cycles through. Now the last category is the icing on the cake really, and you're presented with 20 different lighting effects or scenes as they call it on the display right here. If we just go through a few of these, and that's just by hitting the mode button. So we cycle the mode button and that will take us through to the scene settings. For this one, this is a green flash. If we were just to cycle through a few of these, we got blue flashes. What else we got? We got cop car, ambulance settings. So there's 20 of these to choose from, and you can go through those and select which one would work best for you. But that was a very nice touch to actually add those effects to this. Next up is the battery life. Now the leaflet claims 2.5 to 10 hours working time, which translates to 2.5 hours at full power, which in real life currency, I found that to be roughly 2 hours at full power, which to be honest is plenty. Saying that though, you have the option to plug in an external power bank or external power if you want to keep working with this light. And the light also supports fast charging via the USB cable right here as well. Okay, so you're probably wondering now how bright this light actually is. And what I'm going to do is put the specs from the manufacturers here, because brightness is sometimes relative. You know, it depends on what it is that you're lighting. It depends on how far away it is from the subject. I mean, this is a pretty small light source. So, you know, kind of manage your expectations with the output with this. But in comparison with other lights within this sort of size, it is pretty bright. So if I just turn up the intensity on here all the way up to 100, you know, you get an idea of how bright it is. So if I just kind of, oh, that's pretty bright, put it here on my face, and what I'll do is I'll turn off my main key light over there, and yeah, you can see this is kind of what we are working with. This is how close it is. So if you're lighting a person, if you're going to be using this to light a person, I'd say use it as a fill light as opposed to a key light, because it's only a really small, you know, light source unless you're going for that dramatic kind of look. So it has a pretty decent light output, and that is as much as I'm going to say with regards to the brightness of this light. Finally, let's talk about the value for money. And the answer is a big fat yes. Now, this light is only 75 bucks, which is about 55 Great British pounds, thereabouts. And based on everything I've already mentioned, it's a no-brainer to have one of this in your camera bag. And as a matter of fact, why not have two? Because for the price of the Aperture ALMCs, for example, which is also some other lights that I use in this form factor, you can get two of these for the price of one of those. And now this is the part where I tell you the things I don't like about this light. And honestly, that is a struggle. I mean, if I had to come up with a suggestion for the next version of this light, I'd say to either add a smartphone app control or even a physical remote control, so you can adjust this. For example, if you hide this away somewhere, you know, high or somewhere in a nook or cranny, then you don't have to keep taking it out to adjust the settings. I mean, the light performs as advertised and as priced. I would also like to hear from you guys what other little lights you have been using. Because if you know me, you know how excited I get about lighting. In summary though, I actually like this light. I've used it in different scenarios, including as a background light for product photography and even as a hair light for my YouTube setup. So right now I'm using an alternative light here. So that's this little light that you're seeing right on top of my hat right here. That's what I would normally use this for. And you probably can even use this for the ambience. So this red or this blue light in the background, you can set this up because it's RGB, it's an RGB light. So you can set this up to use that in this scenario. Now I'm gonna leave a link in the description for you to check it out. If there's anything else you'd like to know about this light, just let me know in the comments below. I hope you found this useful, and be sure to follow me over on my Instagram as well. Until next time, peace.